Hello, class. I am here to give you some notes. They are quick today, and the topic is solving proportions. So we are still solving equations, and this equation that we're going to solve today is a special kind of equation called a proportion. A proportion is a comparison of two ratios. So if you're unsure of what a ratio is, let me give you an example. A ratio is a comparison of numbers. So for example, you might see like 1 to 2. Okay, like maybe the odds of winning something are 1 to 2. But more commonly in math class, you'll see a ratio written like a fraction. So 1 to 2, it could be written as 1 over 2 or 1/2. Now, I hope you all agree with me that 1/2 is equivalent to a lot of different numbers. Like, for example, 4 over 8 is equivalent to 1/2, right? This, when I write the equivalence part, is a proportion. So I'm taking one ratio and I'm comparing it to another ratio. So why don't we pause this video and you can complete the warm-up. It says complete the following patterns. I kind of gave you a hint in that orange example. So why don't you guys go ahead, pause the video, and try these problems. You should have that 1 over 2 is equivalent to 2 over 4, or 10 over 20, or 9 over 18. All of these fractions reduce back to 1/2. 2 over 3. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, so 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 5 is 15, so 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 7 is 14, so 3 times 7 is 21. So you just heard my explanation or my logic of how I came up with the numbers. Okay, so these are all proportional because they're being multiplied by a common number. Now that we are in algebra, we're going to be solving these equations where I give you a proportion, but there's an x somewhere in it, and we're going to be responsible for solving for x. So in order to do this, we need to use a special property, and that property says that if I have a over b equals c over d, that this is equivalent to a times d, which is equal to b times c. That sounds really confusing, but you have done this before, I believe, and we called it cross multiplication. Okay, so if I have a proportion, I can cross multiply. Some schools call this the butterfly. I just call it cross multiplying. So let's do 2 examples together, and then you'll try some on your own. Example 1. You can cross multiply either way. It doesn't matter which diagonals you start with, but I'm going to start with 5 times 4 because it's pretty easy to do that. 5 times 4 is 20. I'm going to show my work like this. So 5 times 4 is 20. And I'm also going to cross multiply this side. Now, you have to be really careful because when I cross multiply and I have what's called a binomial, that just means that there's 2 pieces to this, then I am going to have to distribute the 9. So I'm going to write it like this. So if you have more than one thing on the fraction, I need you to put parentheses around it and then distribute the number. So as I'm doing this, I want to warn you that a lot of these problems don't come out as pretty or as nice as we're used to. 9 times 3 is 27, and 9 times, oops, I forgot the x, and 9 times 1 is 9. Okay, so we're going to finish solving this by getting x by itself. So if I need to get x by itself, I first am going to subtract over this 9. 20 minus 9 would be 11 equals 27x, and then divide over the 27. So a lot of students might be like, oh my gosh, but I got a decimal. In this section, that's okay. That will happen sometimes, okay? So here's what I get. X equals, you can write your answer two ways. X equals 11 over 27. I would accept this answer. If you want to use your calculator, you can do 11 divided by 27 and get a decimal, 0.407. If you're going to get a decimal, you can round it 3 spots. And that's that. So it is okay to get a decimal answer on these problems. Let's do one more together, and then you guys can practice. All right, 6 times 2x. Okay, so 6 times 2x, that's 12x. Equals 5. I have to do parentheses because there's 2 pieces in this fraction. 4x minus 1. So just like before, I am going to distribute. Five times 4 is 20x minus 5. And now I'm going to solve for x. This time, I'm going to subtract over this 20x because the other side also has an x. So I want to move over the like terms. Okay, now since I'm moving the 20 across the equal sign, that's why it's a minus. And I'm combining my x's together. Okay, 12 minus 20 is negative 8x equals negative 5. Divide both sides by negative 8. So I can write my answer 2 ways. Positive 5 over positive 8. And the reason for this is because these negatives will cancel. Let's make that nicer. And then I could also get a decimal. I don't have to do both. And if you're wondering which one I like better, to be honest with you, I don't care. So 0.625. You could write 0 point or just point. I honestly don't care. When in higher math, I prefer the fraction answer. But in Algebra 1, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, so those are our examples. They didn't come out so lovely, but don't freak out. That's going to happen sometimes, okay? All right, so it's your turn. I want you guys to try the got it level, smashed it, and then mastered it with your groups. And I will see you guys after the long weekend.